Welcome again, everyone, to the weekly meeting of the Tacoma-Pierce County Coalition to End Homelessness. To get us started this morning, Rosemary, would you like to welcome folks?
Yes, good morning. I just am checking the sound on my machine. Does it sound all right? Okay.
Sounds good.
I was just reflecting being here a little early. Any of you who came early, this experience this morning was a little bit like what used to happen when we met in person, sort of all milling about, sharing what's going on and sharing announcements and things. So if you like that kind of experience, come early. I like 5-2 or something like that, and you'll get a little conversation that's great. Well, this week is in preparation for the fact that we're not meeting next week because of the Thanksgiving holiday, or because we decided because of the Thanksgiving holiday. And of course, the idea is to think about what are we thankful for, and sometimes that can become a little maudlin, that we're thankful for all kinds of things in the midst of uncertain times. It's sometimes feels cynical to talk about being thankful, but I have to say that this network is worth being thankful for. And the work of all the folks who are putting their shoulder to the plow, or putting their shoulder to the wheel and putting their hand to the plow, I guess is how that goes. And I do remember that learning back about the origins of that phrase about shoulder to the plow, that the carts with huge wheels, sometimes they were up to your shoulder height, and those muddy roads that were in the 17th century were hard to push the carts over. So often they got overturned and you had to push your shoulder there to get it back up. So as we do this work of putting our hands to plows and shoulders to wheels and minds to Zoom, it's worthwhile to step back at least a bit to be thankful for the people who are engaged in this work in every which way, including and especially those who are living on the streets and trying to create communities of caring in the midst of the kind of trauma that they are experiencing. So with that, I'd like to, excuse me, mention our norms for anyone who's new, and then we'll have a moment to introduce folks who are with us for the first time. We have developed a few norms for Zoom over the year, and the idea mostly is to mute ourselves when we're not talking so the background noise doesn't interfere with others, and to also turn off our videos if we're taking other calls or doing other things so we're not distracting. And then we encourage people to use the chat function as a way to communicate during the meeting in any kind of way that's appropriate for that, sharing background information or networking information, or more information about what you'd like to talk about in the meeting if there isn't time. So it's a really good source, and it's not disrespectful at all. It's a way to make contact and keep ourselves going. And today I want to just read the community norms. Mostly we pick out a couple of them to talk about and put the whole set in the chat. If you can do that, Rob, that would be great. So we've stated that we want to lead with an racial equity lens, be aware of power dynamics, challenge concepts, not people, listen to learn, one person speaking at a time, speaking from our own experience, making space and taking space, assume best intentions and take responsibility for impact, and be aware of time and agenda. And now those kind of flowed over you there, but they're in the chat. And at the end of the meeting, Rob always asks us to give our evaluation in some way of what we've done during the meeting. So it might be useful to look back at these near the end of the meeting and see, have we done these? How well have we done these? And if you wish to share your thoughts about any of that, that's encouraged. So with that, if you're new today, maybe making a presentation, or you haven't been here before, just unmute yourself and say, hello, I'm so-and-so, and I'm with whatever I'm with. And then we can talk with you later about whatever's going on. So anybody can just unmute yourself and do that.
Hello, my name is Andrea Hogue. I'm the corresponding secretary with the South End Neighborhood Council, and I'm here today to see what you guys are all about. I also am part of a grassroots group, 253 Merrymakers, and we go out and do a little bit of street outreach. So thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, Andrea. That's great.
Hi, my name is Danny Goodrich. I work for the Department of Social and Health Services at the Public Assistance Office on 19th. And I'm not new. I get your guys' notes and pop in every once in a while, but I do have some updates that I'll be sharing.
Thank you, Danielle. Welcome. Hi, Joe, are you about ready to speak? I see you're unmuted.
I apologize, I missed something. Yeah. Hello, my name is Joe Perva. I work for the Low Income Housing Institute, and I'm currently operating the Comfort Inn that'll be opening up here shortly.
Welcome. We're very happy to see you. Thank you. Well, thanks to the new folks. And if any of you are returning from being here away for a while and want to check in with people, just use the chat as a way to make those kind of contacts. So Rob, back to you.
Thank you, Rosemary, and welcome everybody. One more little reminder before we get into our first standing section of the meeting this week is please do use the chat to continue sharing information throughout the meeting. We retain the chat, so if you want to share information and ensure that that it will be seen by others, that's a great place to put information throughout our meeting this morning. So let's shift to our regular standing item, reports on what's happening on the streets this week. We use this section of the meeting to ask people who are doing regular street outreach to share what needs they're seeing changing on the street, anything that others in the group would be useful for them to know, and what specific needs are out there. So I open the floor. This is just an open invitation for folks who do street outreach to share what they're seeing this week. And you can just raise your hand, or I see Jeffrey has done just that. So Jeffrey, why don't we start with you?
Good morning, everyone. One of the things that I'm starting is a tent count at encampments throughout the city and maybe the county. I don't know if I can handle that much, but at least through the city. If in your outreach, you could just do a tent count and then email me and let me know what that is. I'll see if I can keep a running list going. I know somebody else was working on some names of people in camps, but right now it's just how many tents do we have out there? Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Monique?
Yes, good morning, everybody. So Wednesday, the encampment in Fife, which is a huge encampment, tents and cars and RVs, so much confusion out there. They were told they had to leave. One veteran, a woman veteran, said she was given an hour to leave. The group up front said they weren't told to leave at all. Group in the middle said they had been given 72 hours. Just a whole bunch of confusion out there. People were just taken off. And I think by now, probably most of them are gone. I'm going to go out and do another check. But it was not done the correct way, and just a whole bunch of confusion. We sent people to safe parking in different areas, but not a whole lot to send them to. But that's what's happening now out there in Fife.
Monique, just a quick question. Do you know if that was started by the folks in the city of Fife, or was it WashDOT or?
Fife PD came and told them that they had to leave. One of the ladies said WashDOT said she didn't have to leave. So it just caused a whole bunch of confusion. People were in a panic. Some left, some did not. Yeah, it's just a mess right now. But Fife PD were the first first organization that said you got to leave.
Okay. Do you know if there was a notice posted at all?
No, but one gentleman, I didn't see any notices, but one gentleman said when the notice is posted, you got to listen to that. So there must have been something somewhere at some point because he was moving because of a notice. I didn't see any anywhere.
Okay. All right. Teresa, you have your hand up.
So I was going to ask if anybody knew what was up with Fife. So thank you, Monique, for bringing that. But I also wanted to say that I know the Rise Center has been doing a tent count for a while. So Jeffrey, you might want to plug into them instead of starting an alternate. Thanks.
Thanks, Teresa. Wolf, your hand is up.
Yeah, hey, so Serve the People did our regular distributions this week. We were at camps a few different times to deliver food and mattresses and bed frames and warm clothes, etc. Other than that, we have started serving at the G Street encampment as one of our main locations ever since Evergreen got swept. And needs are still the same. It's really cold out there. People need warm stuff. We're trying to get out as much warm stuff as possible. So let us know if you want to make any sort of item-based or in-kind or monetary donation. We would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Wolf. Maureen, you're muted right now.
Yeah, I know it doesn't work. I mean, it works to keep me quiet, but anyway, I forget to unmute it. So folks, just because I don't have a title doesn't mean I've gone away. If you run into an encampment, please shoot me an email, send me a text right away, and I'll back channel that as fast as I can to try and find out as much as I can. And I'll also shoot you a list of just reminders of things to attend to. So thanks.
Thanks, Maureen. And I think many of us are well aware you haven't gone away. Wolf, I see your hand is still up. Did you just leave it up or do you have something to add?
My bad. No, I'm good.
Okay. And I see you're able to respond to Mark's question in the chat, so thank you for that. Anyone else with things that they would like to share from what they're seeing on the streets this week? Andrea, did you want to say something? Yeah.
Well, just recently I had good news. I have two of my neighbors, homeless neighbors that one's going into treatment and one is going into housing. And so I confirmed that one of them went into housing because he just kind of disappeared, and that always breaks my heart when I'm used to going around and seeing certain people. But so there's a lot of joy there, and a lot of, as of recent, I give out condoms in some of my outreach bags, and there seems to be a bigger need than when I've been able to fill for condoms. So just something to keep in mind if you don't already have those in your kits. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else with final items for this week on the streets? Jeffrey, I see your hand up again.
Sorry about that. I wanted to add this in. A young woman from the 10th and J who had been down at the 10th and Yakima site has accepted a tiny home. So she is now off the streets.
That's great news. Yeah, and we love hearing those positive resolutions if folks have them. Anyone else with items from what they've seen on the streets this week? Okay, I'll only let the awkward silence go so far. So thank you, everyone. And one reminder is if you, since we are not going to hold a meeting next Friday, please do use the mailing list if you encounter things and needs during this week. folks are still around. We're just not holding a meeting next Friday. So I don't want to leave people hanging if at all possible. So let's shift to our first presentation of the day. And I'd like to invite Timothy Harris to give us an update while we congratulate him for the launch of the Dignity City website, the News Tribune article that came out. We'd love to hear what you're doing now and how things are going and how we can support.
Absolutely. You can all hear me, right?
We can.
Great. So I'm just so excited that this thing is getting off the ground now, and so grateful for the support that we've gotten from the coalition and folks like Maureen, who've agreed to write a regular column for the paper. And our focus right now is on building community support for the project and preparing to launch the physical paper, distribution of a physical paper in March. This morning, I want to just really quickly go over what the street paper concept is, how Dignity City works, and how people can help us get this thing off the ground. The street paper concept, really simple idea. Many of you are familiar with the Real Change paper in Seattle. It's all about creating low barrier opportunity while reducing the isolation and stigma of homelessness. It's about relationships. Street papers are a medium for creating supportive, healing relationships across class, getting people to care about each other, getting people to talk to each other who otherwise probably wouldn't be doing that. The mission is harness the power of caring community to offer opportunities for self-help to those in need. Pretty straightforward. The way Dignity City is going to work is like all street papers. It's a low barrier employment opportunity. No IDs required. People go to an orientation, they agree to a common sense code of conduct, they get a badge in their first 10 papers free after orientation, and after that they get their papers at cost up front, sell them for $2 plus tips, keep everything they make. A lot of flexibility for people to work when and where they like. We do our best to set them up for success. Our launch is in Tacoma here, but the vision is to grow into a statewide paper and an advocacy tool that is viable in multiple small communities across the state. It's all about bringing that kind of engagement that we were able to create in Seattle with Real Change and taking that to smaller communities, you know, places that otherwise would never have a street paper. Our advocacy agenda is really going to take our lead from our key allies. We'll be supporting the advocacy priorities of the coalition, taking our statewide cues from the Housing Alliance, and at the same time being open and respectful of a variety of perspectives. Right now, our board is very Seattle-centric. It's people that I've known from my career, homeless folks that were involved in as being vendors and really successful at that. You can look at our website to see what our board looks like right now. We're going to be filling that out over the next 3 to 6 months with folks from this community as well. So if there are people who are concerned about that, want you to know that that is on the agenda. In terms of how people can help, I'm just going to drop something into the chat window right now. Wait a minute. Holy cow. Yeah. Boom. You know, it's pretty basic. I want to get to know you all. Our whole model is about building community relationships, figuring out how we can support each other's work. You know, Dignity City in particular is particularly relationship driven. As we work here in Tacoma and we expand to other communities, we want to be working closely with agencies that are working with homeless folks in the community. And that takes conversation, that takes getting to know each other. It's a big priority. I want to talk to folks and figure out who else I should be talking to. So please get in touch with me, and I will likely be reaching out to you. Dignity City and street papers in general are very much built on grassroots community support. I encourage you to support the project yourself. Every gift is a show of community support. It's just really important to start building that now, because that's what's going to make this sustainable over the long term. And finally, sign up for our updates, stay engaged with the project. We're going to be keeping the community informed as we're moving this thing along. And just to close, I encourage you to visit the website now. The news blog is already up. It'll give you a taste of the sorts of articles that we're interested in publishing. We're also really looking at supporting and engaging the local arts community here. We think that that will be a powerful mix for the publication and a way of bringing people in and really kind of filling a niche that is there. So broadly speaking, we're always looking for story ideas, community contributors. Want to hear from you about things that you think we ought to be paying attention to. And with that, I think we've still got a little bit of time left for questions.
Yeah, we do, Timothy. Thank you. So Monique, you have a hand up?
Yes. Hi, Timothy. So
Hi, Monique.
I went to an event in Seattle where you were speaking, and I loved the event and I loved what you had to say. However, I just missed what you were saying earlier because I was looking for the article. So in the article, I was quoted regarding my concerns about folks having to purchase the paper first.
Sure.
And then I missed it. I heard you right at the tail end. I said, oh my God, he's answering my question. So could you go back to that and tell me about the purchasing of the paper, please?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big part of our model is that the vendors do pay basically cost for the paper up front. It's really about building investment, and it's about self-respect. I mean, our whole model is that this is a hand up, not a handout. When people pay for a fraction of the paper up front and keep what they make when they sell it, that means that it's less a charity thing and more, you're an independent small business owner, you're an entrepreneur, you're buying your product up front, basically wholesale, and selling it retail on the street. And people take pride in that. Huge part of the street paper model. It's pretty much how they all operate.
And where are people selling these papers? I know in Seattle, I was up there and they're all over the place on the street, but down here, I don't see the same kind of downtown.
It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge because not only do we have the sort of decentralized nature of Tacoma and really kind of a lot of car culture going on here, but we've got the solicitation code, which is fairly radically anti-free speech. It's probably the thing that I am most concerned about in the launch of this project. So it's going to be about finding places where vendors can be successful, being really clear about that, and also getting permission for vendors to be able to sell on private property, which is, again, goes back to the importance of the community relationship building. And finding places like churches, farmers markets, places where, groups of people come that would be interested in supporting a project like this and building relationships with them. And over time, I think it's going to be about pushing back on that solicitation code. I mean, there is a long list of places, people, and things that you can't be within 15 feet of, and that's going to be a problem.
And is your team going to be the ones looking for these places so you can give suggestions to the vendors on where they can sell?
Absolutely. I mean, a big part of our work is setting the vendors up for success as much as we possibly can. And you know, that means part of that is scouting for turf. My experience is that the vendors themselves are probably the best people for finding places that they can sell the paper and be successful. They're pretty good at pioneering that. But you know, it's a mutual endeavor, and we try to find those places as well, and have places where we can send people and they can be successful.
Yeah, I think that is my biggest concern, Timothy, that someone goes and buys these papers for 60 cents, you know, and then can't find anywhere to sell them. And that's
Yeah,
down here.
that's
I mean,
bad
Seattle,
for everybody. That's
right,
just
right.
bad for everybody.
Right. And then my very last question, sorry, Teresa, I know you had a question. Very last question.
Uh-huh.
When I was doing a whole bunch of work in King County, you guys created a wonderful resource book. Will you be doing that down here in Pierce County?
I love the Emerald City Guide. We stole that idea from the Portland paper, Street Roots, the Rose City Guide. I would love to create a guide like that for the Pierce County area. It won't be our first priority, but I think that that's something that we'll definitely want to work up to.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Monique.
Teresa, you have your hand up, and then there is a question in the chat as well, Timothy.
So Monique asked almost everything that was on my mind, but I wanted to ask this one other thing, which is to Monique's issue about people investing in something they may not get back. Do you have any system where someone could buy a gift certificate for $5 so that Monique could give it to somebody who wants to try out selling the paper and they could see how it goes? Something like that?
Yeah. I didn't mean to sound like that. Yeah.
I know it's an odd
Absolutely.
question.
There are ways that we can do that. I do want to stress that when somebody signs up to sell the paper, we give them their first 10 copies for free so that they can see whether this is something that works for them without making any investment up front. And the other piece is that, you know, while Real Change sells the paper to the vendors for 60 cents and they sell it for $2, and we'll probably get to that price point for the vendors after a while. Initially, we're going to be selling the paper to the vendors for 30 cents each because it's going to be more important for the project to get the paper out there and get vendors involved and lower the barriers to that, then it's going to be important for us to have the revenue of the paper sales coming in. We're really about building the kind of reach of the paper and doing everything we can to support that.
You have solved everything. This is a
That's my
wonderful
job.
endeavor.
And I see a question about basically self-employment tax. The answer to that question is yes. I mean, up until the point that people are making $6,000 a year, which won't be that many of the vendors, they don't really need to worry about that. But part of the orientation is that we tell the vendors that they're responsible for their own tax liability. And, you know, at that time of the year, we help vendors, you know, with whatever they need to be able to do that. The majority of vendors aren't concerned about that, but we do help the vendors that applies to.
Thank you, Timothy. If other folks have questions, please do use the chat. I think we will shift to our next item. We have a couple of walk-on items that aren't on our agenda, so I do want to get to those as well. So let's go to one of those walk-on items now. I'd like to offer some time to Josh Steele and his team from Lehigh. They wanted to do an update both of the Comfort Inn and other projects. So Josh?
Hi, Rob. Thank you, everyone. I happen to be drinking out of my Real Change mug, by the way. I just want to point that up there. So just so honored to be speaking right after Tim Harris. And yeah, that's Tim Harris was the founder of Real Change and in 1994. And this is a really exciting launch of Dignity City. So thanks for doing that. I just found it so funny. I was drinking out. I drink out of his mug all the time. So I want you to know that. So good to see you. So let's see. So we have Joe Perva on and Kyjana Campbell. I think she was with us a moment ago, but she might have had to jump off for a meeting. They're having a management meeting right now. And Joe's going to share some updates on how things are going at Comfort Inn. We have an exciting community meeting coming up on Monday, and a couple of things going on for that. We're forming a community advisory committee. And then I have, him and I also have updates about our Thames site, Tacoma Emergency Micro Shelters. And we can share any updates we have about our 6th and Orchard site as well. So Joe, I'm going to hand it to you.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
I will go ahead and start with just some of the stats for our Tim's 4 site, which is the most recent one we opened up on 69th and Proctor. Since October 6th, we have had 11 positive move outs. You know, so it's really starting off really well. Serving over 70 people since we opened. I know that the 6th and Orchard is doing extremely well. That site has 44 positive move outs, serving close to 130 people since they've opened. So that's amazing. You know, so I'm super excited about this Comfort Inn project, which we are projecting opening late November, early December. So as long as everything continues to go in the positive momentum direction it's been going, we foresee that that's not going to be an issue at all. As Josh mentioned, we do have the meeting coming up for that on Monday. Darren Penn is going to be the point of contact for that as far as getting the information to attend that. I think that we also will be forming the CAC for the Comfort Inn as well. So, you know, everybody's invited for that. We can drop my email in the chat for that as well. So we can make sure that if individuals want to be involved in that, they can as well. I believe those are the biggest pertinent matters for the Comfort Inn and what we're projecting for the Comfort Inn and for the Tim sites.
So we can put in the contact information for Darren. Right now, emailing him is the way you get the information. So we're working closely with Safe Streets on this to you know, running the meeting together, and they're really like on the ground helping out there along with Joe and the Lehigh staff. So we're working closely with them, and so that's going to be opening up to serve. How many people is it again, Joe?
We are projecting, so there's 90 rooms, 12 will be specifically retained for Lakewood, and then the rest rooms will be coming from Tacoma. Our main referral agency is going to be the homeless outreach team, but we will be working with other agencies as well, like Urban League, Tacoma Rescue Mission, Next Chapter, CCS, so on and so forth. And our max capacity we're looking at is 120. So that's kind of our projected numbers for right now for the 90 rooms that we have.
And Lehigh owns the site, and we're planning on converting it into permanent affordable housing over time. So right now we're going to use it as an enhanced shelter. So I know we're really, we're looking forward to that, to transitioning to that. So we are, like we said, we are forming a community advisory committee. If anybody knows somebody who is like in the area, it could be you live there, you work there, you have a business there, you go, you're at a school there, serve at a nonprofit close by, you attend a faith community there, you're somehow involved in the community, you would be considered a neighborhood stakeholder, and you would absolutely qualify to serve on the CAC. So just reach out. I'm going to drop my email in the chat. So just reach out to me and I can send along an application. So again, that community meeting is on the 22nd, this Monday at 6:30 p.m. And then the other thing, just some quick updates on TEMS, stands for Tacoma Emergency Micro Shelters. We opened, the expanded site, added another 20 houses, I believe. And now we've 11 people have exited into permanent housing. since it opened. Just back in what was that? When was that, Joe? Wasn't that October 6th, I believe, that it opened? That started accepting clients
on 69th and Proctor.
Yeah.
Yes. It was October 6th is when we started accepting clients. We began the transition sooner on the 16th of the month prior, but that was moving the smaller site and transitioning into the larger site. But
we have these amazing case managers. We have 3 case managers working there who are working with all the residents and helping them with obtaining, housing, employment, healthcare, applying for Social Security, getting their IDs and documentation, because a lot of times people are referred that don't have that. So we're helping, they're helping the clients there with all those, anything that's needed, treat everybody as an individual on their individual journey. But we're very excited that 11 people have transitioned into permanent housing from that site. So we're just going to continue working, working away at that. And then we have our, we of course have our 6th and Orchard site that serves, this one serves actually some families with children. So we continue to partner with the church there at that site. And then we're also partnering with the Puyallup tribe at our site, at our village there. So, and then we're still in the process, by the way, of, we have the Lincoln District site coming up. So that's coming up next year. That's going to be 75 units for seniors who are experiencing homelessness. So no longer be homeless when they're in the building, of course. And then the phase 2 would be 2023. That would be 72 more units for people experiencing homelessness. So yeah, just really excited for these projects coming up, and let us know if we can answer any questions. We're always available. I'm going to put my contact information in the chat. And by the way, I should mention the Thames Community Advisory Committee just met this last Monday. Incredible group of people, just a wonderful meeting, and a lot of just community champions and neighbors and businesses and providers in the area. So if anyone is interested in, you're close to that 69th and Proctor site, again, you have some stake, in that community, in that neighborhood, or even if you just, and by the way, these are public meetings, so anybody can attend. If you want to attend all of them, you can. You don't have to be you don't have to be a member of the committee to attend these meetings. And even if you're in the neighborhood, but you can't commit the hour and a half a month to attend the monthly meeting, you can still be just as active on the CAC and just drop in when you can. So the next meeting is going to be on December 20th at let's see, at 6 p.m. It's going to be the next one that's coming up. So just before the holidays really hit. So yeah, so that's what's coming up. And let us, I don't know if we have time for questions.
So just a couple. There are some questions about who's the direct contact to access services. So a couple of folks wanting to know the referral process and who they should reach out to. And then that's in the chat. So if you can answer that, Josh, in the chat, that would be great. And then Monique had a question.
All right, I'm full of questions today. Joe mentioned over 50 some positive move outs. Where and how are you finding this housing?
Some of the positive move outs have been to families. Some have been through like KWA. They had a program, and I apologize, that's more case management. So sometimes, because I work operations, sometimes I get more of the information, than sometimes how, the process that the case managers navigating through. But I do know that they worked through KWA. We also had some vouchers. There was they sent them through the and I apologize, again, it's case management. A lot of the case management, that would be a really good question for case management, and because I don't remember all the acronyms and all the processes that they got them through. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, that's okay, thank you. And Joe, can you do me a favor and drop your email in the chat again? I wanted to speak to you before about this new encampment, and I don't know what happened to your email. So if you could drop that in for me, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
And Josh,
I just draw mine in just in case if anyone's interested in joining the the CAC or coming to that community meeting. Darren, we're working with Darren Penn with Safe Streets on the community meeting, but I'll just work, I'll pass that along to him, and then we'll get that information to you.
Okay. And can you address the referral question in the chat as well?
Sorry, I'm still drinking down the coffee. Okay, so yes, the referral question. Joe, is that actually? I'm going to ask Joe if he wouldn't mind speaking on that
Yeah,
one.
so depending on the site that you're going to, and again, so I'm dropping my email in the chat, so if we have more in depth, but depending on the site you're going to, if you're going to Six and Orchard, they work with 6 different referral agencies: Next Chapter, Recovery Cafe, Urban League, the Homeless Outreach Team, First Christian, and then if you're looking at like the Tim site, our main referral agency there is the Homeless Outreach Team. And that was going to be the same outlook here for the Comfort Inn as well. But all sites will still work with like Sea March, Home Rescue Mission, Urban League, and so on. But we are just the 69th and the Comfort Inn, our main referral agency will be the Homeless Outreach Team. And again, when I put my email in there, I can give you contact information for these specific individuals. So you'll be able to contact them directly. And we can make sure that we can get individuals into the villages or the shelter.
And I saw Andrea's question about including the South End Neighborhood Council and any communications regarding the Comfort Inn. So absolutely, we will do that. And by the way, we have 3 members of the South End Neighborhood Council on the Thames CAC. So we're well represented there. So we, they can send out information on Thames as well and share that at the meetings. And we attend those meetings and share out information as well. So we'll, yes, we will pass along the information we have in communications around the Comfort Inn for sure.
All right. Thank you, Josh. And it looks like if Joe can drop his email contact in there, that should take care of some of those other questions that were out there. Really appreciate the update and hope folks can attend Monday's meeting. Let's shift on in our agenda. I wanted to turn the floor over to Maureen Howard for an update regarding the status of some work with the Lived Experience Coalition.
Thank you. And I'm glad to see we're right on time, like every Friday. I love it. Okay, so one of the things Coalition signed off on formally was a participation in the Voices That Matter project with the Lived Experience Coalition, the Tacoma Pierce County chapter, along with Workforce's Speakers Bureau. It's the 3rd partner in there. And the Lived Experience Coalition, Jonathan Hempel we had asked him to come. Last night he reached out and asked if I would just update because I'd been on the Wednesday night partnership meeting. And so I'm happy to do that. The Lived Experience Coalition does have the contract now and it's going through the signing process. It's a finalized contract. And the way that this, so the intent is that the Speakers Bureau, remember Amanda Walking Stick, some of you know or have heard her speak. So the combination of the program that the Speakers Bureau has put into place for people with lived experience in order to gain leadership, communication skills, is going to inform and collaborate with the program that the Lived Experience Coalition already follows in terms of developing leadership and helping people with lived experience be able to take their places, use their voices on various boards and committees across the county. And people will be paid. There will be a $20 an hour stipend for their work on these boards and committees. They will also have their transportation reimbursed or paid forward, I forget which. And they will have whatever is required for them to have access. So if they need a hotspot or if they need a Chromebook or that sort of thing. So this is pretty exciting, this combination of Workforce and the Lived Experience Coalition and the Coalition to End Homelessness. Our contributions have been, to date, have been, in addition to Garrett helping Lamont Green from the Lived Experience Coalition actually write the proposal, have been to, Garrett and I have participated in this steering committee that has met every other week. And Garrett is still defining his role. He loves his project and he's trying to figure out how to stay with it. But his county job with county money is what he has to sort out with the county. So I've been stepping in along with him and sometimes for him on this. I've asked the group who they would like from the coalition to represent the coalition. They've asked for Rob Huff and Dana Peterson at this point, and so that conversation will go forward itself. A lot of things went on hold while they were waiting for the actual contract. Now that the contract is in hand, things are moving forward. So the so where we left it Wednesday, I know the other things that we have done. So our coalition had received a $5,000 donation towards the Speakers Bureau at a time when I think Garrett envisioned that we would actually have the Speakers Bureau as one of our programs, and that's not the case. So we are transferring that money to the Lived Experience Coalition for this project. So we're making that investment. We have offered from the beginning access to whatever communication we have. Please use the listserv. Please ask for time in meetings. We've invited folks to participate in various ways. So there's that. And I think the Lived Experience Coalition uses a very intentional collaborative model. So sometimes things take a little longer, but when they are finalized, everybody has bought in and everybody's voice has been heard. So just because it takes longer just means that folks who work more linearly have to be a little patient. The other things, I'm trying to see if there's anything else. I think that's really pretty much it. And just as a side note, having listened to how important that Lehigh conversation was for everybody, I honestly don't know what to do with the number of other things that I think are important to somebody, but maybe not everybody. So I'm going to try and put them on a one-pager and send out. But please, if you work or live in the city of Tacoma, the no camping ban has now been heard by the Community Vitality and Safety Committee. And we show up in the official presentation as the advocates draft. All right. You haven't seen the advocates draft because it was never finalized. We never signed off on it. In our working group with the mayor, the deputy mayor, Councilmember Toms, and the city attorney, the process was stopped because the city asked us to stop because they got the matrix report on police reform. And so I will circulate that draft now since it's already shown up. And the deputy mayor last night, and I did bring to Chair Ushka and Councilmember Hines' attention that in fact, it was not the advocates draft. It was the collective draft of the city council people and ourselves. We never brought it to the coalition because we didn't have a final. But if you were here during those weeks that we met, we reported almost every Friday on what the status was, what the key issues were. There is now a staff draft, which I believe is NCS, and they have recriminalized the plan, the ordinance. So there are many things that this might move fast. NCS says they can have a final by November 9th, which is the last meeting of CVS before the end of the year. If so, we are going to have to figure out a way to respond. So that's, and so there'll be a separate, watch for a separate email just on this ordinance, all right? The other things, if you work in 34th and Pacific, please let me know, all right? That encampment. And folks, FEMA is funding hotel rooms at 100% through April, or until the 1st of April, or maybe through, I forget. But we have had zero response from the city or county on taking advantage of that. So Tacoma Safe, folks, if you're on this call, you've got a different voice, take it forward and see if you can get those folks, you've got their attention. We could immediately clear these encampments with hotel rooms that would be 100% reimbursed. We have a mobile home park in Puyallup where 44 families, about 150 people have eviction notices. So there are a number of moving pieces out here. And so thanks. I know I took too much, Rob. I'm sorry. Screwed the agenda.
See, never gives a microphone to.
Oh. Oh, I know. Build Back Better passed the House this morning. $150 billion for housing, 6,200 new vouchers for Washington State. All right. This sucker has to get through the Senate.
Yeah, now the sausage gets made. Thank you, Maureen, and I'm actually glad you squeezed in the update from the committee meeting last night. Maureen and I were chatting back and forth a little bit throughout that meeting, and appreciate that. Let's shift over to a quick update and announcement from Michael Yoder from Associated Ministries.
Good morning, everyone. We'll try to make this brief. Hopefully you've been getting wind of some news that we officially announced back on November 4th. We've been sending out press releases. The Tacoma Weekly is running an article this week about our news, which has some implications for the affordable housing homeless continuum in our community, which is the merger of two local nonprofits that have been long time participants in this system. So you all need to know about this, and hopefully will be encouraged by our plans to move forward. So Shared Housing Services, under the leadership of their board and director, Mark Merrill, have decided that their best way forward to continue their really valuable and, I think innovative home sharing model is not to stay independent. And I think this is a very innovative, unique way to think, but it actually, I think the best way to ramp up the idea of home sharing was to find an affinity organization to connect with that could nurture and perhaps even expand and energize the idea of home sharing. So they approached us some time ago, and we've done a lot of legal wrangling with due diligence type stuff. And we are going to proceed in the weeks ahead to merge. And then the idea of home sharing, adult home sharing, and our youth host home programs of shared housing will be official programs embedded within Associated Ministries. The shared housing staff will come and be a part of Associated Ministries. And the reason that works well is they have a relatively lean team over at Shared Housing, and we already have a couple of community outreach coordinators who do community outreach for all of our other programs. Now, while they're out in the community recruiting volunteers for other programs, they can also potentially talk about and recruit people to be host homes. So it's that kind of synergy for why a program like Shared Housing can be more than the sum of its parts by merging in with AM. So Mark Merrill, the director at Shared Housing, is going to come over and work with us at AM to kind of keep to be the bearer of the torch for the shared housing model and help us with the transition of the programming and funder relationships, and actually help us go out and look for even new sources of funding from maybe some of our funders at AM who will be excited to invest in this idea. Folks, home sharing is an immediate solution. It provides very low income housing, just a few $100s a month to rent a room in homes. That is really one of the only permanent housing options for people at the very low end of the income spectrum. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of empty rooms that could be sources of permanent housing available right now today in this community if we just had the bandwidth to get out there and recruit and make some of those homeowners aware of this opportunity. And it particularly works for certain homeowners who need to monetize their empty rooms, perhaps a senior who's having a hard time staying in their home and could take someone in that could provide a win-win. Low-cost housing for someone who needs that, and stability for the homeowner. So we really believe this is something we need to scale up, and we can hopefully house many, many more people through this new partnership. And I don't know, just out of courtesy, if Mark, who's on the call too, has just anything quick he wants to say. At least you should say, I concur. AM is not, this is not a hostile takeover. or he's in stunned silence.
I think he's on a phone call.
He could be.
Completely concur, excited, and yeah, I think we can double. I think we can go out and double the number of people we can help. So
Oh, it's going to be huge. I agree, Mark. Let's do it.
All right, thank you for that update. I see a couple of questions. We can do them real quick. Jan?
UW Tacoma in early fall, late summer, put out a notice that they were partnering with shared housing.
Yes.
Are those programs continuing? Do you have
Absolutely.
other college? They are, okay.
Yeah, that's the kind of innovative thinking they've been doing over at Shared Housing that we want to take and expand. So they have this Husky to Husky program where the university is reaching out to their alumni and saying, you know, would you be willing to take in a homeless current Husky student? And I think that's a beautiful way to help get the word out about home sharing. So looking for affinity groups and going to them and saying, would you take on someone that you have an affinity with? So alumni associations, et cetera, are logical.
Great. And there's a question from Sarah in the chat for you, Michael, and then Teresa has her hand up.
So first, I want to say that Mark and his team have done a lot with a little over the years, and I'm so impressed with what they got done. So that's for them. But also to say that I've been a thorn in Mark's side in some way about people with criminal histories, and I intend to be a thorn in your side.
Okay.
Of AM too, just to give you notice.
Thank you. Appreciate the notice. Thorns always welcome. That's how we get better and change. And yeah, we'll be working on, you know, the evolution of the referrals for this program. Right now, just keep calling Shared Housing, and eventually the phone will ring at AM when you call Shared Housing. Their adult home sharing program is nearly all privately funded right now, and so there's a lot of latitude about how you can get into that program. And so we'll be working on, and we're a little bit more publicly funded, so hopefully we can continue that private funding and have this particular program of a little bit more of a wide entry portal than just through the normal referral systems.
Great, thank you, Michael. And I see Chiquata with her hand up.
Thank you. This is exciting news, and it's even more exciting because the city of Tacoma is trying to put some structure around like shared housing to help people, to help it not be a barrier. And it's funny because like the first time they announced it in this meeting, Mark emails me and he's like, no, wait, hold on, what are you trying to do? And so once I explained to him that we weren't trying to eliminate it and we just wanted to make it to where it wasn't a barrier, people weren't being taken advantage of and things like that, he was all on board. So he's on my City of Tacoma stakeholder group. And so great. I think that this will be great with the two nonprofits coming together for him to really have that voice on what that structure around that looks like. And Mark keeps me on task. So Michael, if you haven't experienced that yet, you're in for it because Mark will be on you to do what you got to do. So.
So great. I'm so thrilled to hear of your interest and support in this, Chiquata. We really think that there's something amazing we can do with some support from the city.
Great. So thank you, Michael, for the announcement. And if folks have other questions that they want to ask in the chat, I'm sure Michael can get to those. Let's do our one other walk-on item. I wanted to briefly give the floor to Danielle from, she mentioned earlier that she had some news to share about a resumption of in-person services. So Danielle?
Yes, good morning. So the DSHS community service offices, public assistance offices reopened on Monday. We are open to limited in-person services. And that includes picking up EBT cards, 10 to 2, without an appointment. They can come in. Previously, we were only serving those with a general delivery mailing address, so anyone can come in. Interviews, applications, all of that is still being done over the phone. So we do have 6 phone lines in our lobby, and I know with the homeless population not having a place to go to use a phone has been a big barrier. So unfortunately, we're not doing in-person interviews at this point. So if someone comes in to apply for services, we are going to put them on a phone. It's out of the elements, it'll, dry. Our wait times reached 4 hours yesterday. And on average, they're about 2 hours. So I know there's also the limit with, cell phone minutes and that sort of thing. But they can come in. They can still apply online, fill out a paper application, but ultimately that interview has to be done. And when they're calling in, there's no need to do those other applications because they do electronic signatures with the client. So there's no passing of paperwork needed. We do attempt to get all information verified while we've got the client on the phone. There is a callback for some. It's called Sure Connect, I believe, but it's got its queues. It's maximum 2. So once those hit, no others are allowed. My suggestion, as early in the day as possible, we had someone come in at 8 o'clock. I had them on the phone at 8:05, and they had about a 15-20 minute wait, but they were able to get services, and they left with their EBT card. Other things that we can do when they just come in without an appointment, we are still doing Identicard ID vouchers for Department of Licensing. I did want to clarify on that. There was some confusion with the ID vouchers. That's the $5 where they can pay $5. It does nothing as far as a driver's license. If someone has a driver's license and they get one of these ID vouchers, that will then cancel the driver's license. So it's just the ID voucher piece. For those families who are applying for TANF right now, there's the 60-month limit where people were being terminated. That is being waived right now because of COVID. So if you've had families you're working with that have been, closed or denied for the time limit extension, there is no time limit extension at this point. I think it's through June. I'd have to verify that. But in those families, we are trying to re-engage for work first to try to get them into, job search, schooling, training. So they are actively working with local social workers and case managers. Let's see. Questions? Oh, other things that they can come in and get if they need letters or they've submitted copies of Social Security cards or copies of IDs to us previously, they can come in anytime between 8 and 5 and we will print those out for them. They can drop off paperwork at any time. I think those are the biggies.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for emailing me this morning to let me know you had a few moments to stop in and give an update. And,
absolutely.
And if folks have other questions, they can definitely drop them in the chat.
And I do have another meeting at 10:30. I'm going to have to leave, but I'll put my cell phone or my office number and my email. Feel free to reach out to me either way. If you've got case specifics and you've got the client with you, I can talk that out. For the EBT cards, it's 10 to 2. Phones are open from 8 to 3 for new applications and eligibility reviews, and 8 to 4 for just general changes.
Okay, and I see Teresa has her hand up.
Just this has been pretty devastating, the offices being closed for people coming out of incarceration. And I want to just suggest that you give some thought to ways you could reach into the institutions if you're going to be so difficult to get an appointment with out here. I get the problem, but I don't think people really understand how hard that is to come out with nothing.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. So thank you again, Danielle, and look forward to seeing you at a meeting in the future as well. So our agenda has been blown out of the water this morning. So I'm going to shift things around a little bit with I appreciate everybody's patience. We typically do our government updates around 10 o'clock. And so I would like to honor that, and then we will shift our conversation about Thanksgiving resources to the second hour of the meeting. So with that being said, let's first see if we have anybody from the city of Tacoma on today's call with updates. right. I was not made aware if somebody was going to be here, so that doesn't surprise me. Do we have anybody from either Pierce County Human Services, or I didn't see Valerie on earlier for rental assistance? There's Valerie. She's just in time.
I think Jeff's here. Jeff Rogers, are you on the call today? I don't see you.
No, I didn't see him earlier.
Okay, so yeah, I've actually been on the call for a few minutes. I was presenting with the Washington State House of Representatives this morning.
Awesome.
So it's been such a busy week. So I'm Valerie with Pierce County Human Services, pronoun she, her, hers. Thanks for having me again today. Quick update on rental assistance. We are currently at 88.85% spent for our Department of Treasury funds. We are actually putting in a request today for about $40 million more of Treasury. They have anywhere from a couple $100 million to over $1 billion of unspent Treasury dollars to be reallocated. So we're throwing our hat in the ring for about 40 million of those dollars. And then for the TRAP, which is Washington State Department of Commerce, we're at 84% spent on that for 36 million. And our American Rescue Plan funds were already at 26% at 2.4 million of those. We've also already received our allocation of American Rescue Plan funds round 2 and our TRAP 2.0. So our amazing 9 local nonprofits who I just cannot thank enough every single moment of my life are just doing amazing work. I am in the community a ton. Yesterday, we actually hosted an event at Tacoma Housing Authority Shalishan, and we had over 100 people when we finally stopped counting. We stayed an extra hour and a half, and then we zipped on over to South Hill Library, where we served 15 more households. And then today we're at Fife and in Milton. Monday, we're at Eatonville and Parkland. And then Tuesday, we're at Silicum. And we are at the Puyallup Tribe on Tuesday afternoon. So lots of opportunities to be in the community. All of our information and our in-person options, as well as our local nonprofits who do have some walk-in options, are available on our website on the calendar, which is new and improved. Kylia did a great job. We're also coming out with a paper application. We will be able to send that out to folks if they're having any issues getting to an event. We'll be able to just pop it back in the envelope, mail it to us, and we will do all of the data entry for them. So just really coming up with some super cool and creative ways to get folks to apply for rental assistance along with applying for new money. We were at Spokane Tuesday. When I landed, I also booked got to register for my flight home. So that tells you how quick it was. But we presented at the Washington State County Leaders Conference on Wednesday afternoon. So that was a great opportunity to really talk to some other counties about what's working and not working. And we always view every opportunity to speak as an opportunity to learn and listen so that we can continuously improve our process while we share the amazing work that's been done in Pierce County as well. So I'm happy to stay. I'll be around for a while before I head over to wherever I'm going next.
Thank you for your leadership, Valerie, and for being here. So I know Jenny is on break right now, but it's going to be Leah, I think, doing an update from Tacoma Pierce County Health Department.
Yes. Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Leah Ford. I use she, her pronouns, and I support our community engagement team for our COVID response. And I typically attend these meetings, but providing this update in Jenny's absence, and she will be out, she'll be back in the office on November 29th. So yesterday, our 14-day case rate per 100,000 was 346. Our hospitalization rate is currently 11.1 per 100,000. And we confirmed 236 cases as well as 6 new deaths. We have updated our data dashboard on our website. I just put a link to that in the chat, so definitely check that out. As far as INQ updates, we have 17 beds available. The lighthouse is closed as of the 15th, and so we are continuing to add more capacity with, we have 2 adult family homes that are pending, but they have agreed to be low barrier sites. And then again, as I'm sure you all are aware, the care coordination for those facilities is being handled by Aristo. If you have any feedback or questions under this new system, just reach out to Jenny or myself. And I'll also put my email in the chat. Alrighty, so as of Monday, there were no outbreaks, no active COVID outbreaks that we are aware of. We did testing. Shiloh Baptist had no issues, no positive tests. Everyone was negative. We have a number of clinics scheduled for the remainder of this month, as well as into December, at shelters and day centers, with vaccines being provided by our contractor ambulance. And really starting to see bigger numbers of people getting vaccinated at these events, which is very heartening. We're also working on some more encampment outreach efforts. Greater Lakes continues their work in encampments and going through the month of November. And so just looking how we can continue to support that. The MRC Medical Reserve Corps is providing flu vaccine at several sites as well. And we are really busy rolling out pediatric vaccines right now, and we're just working to really be sure that our contractor is able to offer pediatric vaccines at shelters where they are needed. The CDC is actually meeting today, and likely booster doses for all folks 18 and up are, that should be available this weekend. But as of now, if you had Pfizer or Moderna more than 6 months ago and are in certain high-risk groups, you're eligible for that booster. If you had J&J more than 2 months ago, you are eligible. And additionally, people may get a mixed series booster dose, meaning their booster dose does not need to match their initial vaccine series. So that's all I have for y'all today. I'll put some additional links in the chat. And if anyone has any questions, let me know. Thanks.
Thank you, Leah. Don't see any questions right now, but if folks do have them, please pop them into the chat. Oh, wait, Jan has a question for you.
Not a question as much as a resource. It was just recently announced that there were more than 100,000 deaths last year due to fentanyl overdose. The health department in the lower level has free Narcan. Narcan works. Now, in the case of fentanyl, it probably is going to take more than one shot of the nasal spray, but it is free. It's in the basement of the health department every morning that the clinic is open down there. If folks want some Narcan and it's hard to send staff, let me know and I will deliver it to your shelter or to your encampment. If you're an outreach worker, I will deliver it to you, your team lead, and then have it on site. And the instructions on how to use it are with the Narcan kit. So they made it really easy to use. So let's think about prevention, especially prevention of death. Yeah, I'm all for that.
Jan, thank you for that. And I'll just add really quickly too, anyone who has insurance, you can get that for free from a pharmacy. So typically when I'm in just like grabbing something, I just ask for that. And so that's another thing for y'all to just be mindful of when you're out and about. Just grab it when you can because it's there. Thank you.
That is great advice. Monique?
Is that clinic located on Pacific? Is that what you're
Yeah,
speaking?
3629 South D Street. And it is on the Pacific side of the building.
Thank you.
Thank you. So our last government update would be whether we have anybody from Pierce County Department of Emergency Management on the call today. I don't see anybody, but I see Jan with her hand up.
Regine Creel is with DEM, and she is going to be at our Monday Zoom, the Safe Sites for All meeting. Register on our website here. Come Monday at noon, and Regine Creel will talk about the platforms for PC Warn. Anybody in Pierce County can sign up for one of two or both platforms to be notified of pending disasters or warnings or whatever. My big question to her is, if folks are already on the street, what are they going to do about safety from an impending disaster? So being notified is one thing. Anyway, that'll be a discussion for Monday. DEM Regine Creel. See you there.
Thank you, Jan, as always. So that wraps up our government updates for this week. Let's shift over to the conversation that we wanted to share regarding Thanksgiving holiday resources. As you may recall, a couple weeks ago, we had a conversation about holiday resources, and Sheila had actually offered to create a list of the resources. She was gathering that information. And Sheila, were you going to kind of walk through that list here, or with Sherry, or how are we going to do this?
Rob, do you happen to have the email that I sent to Garrett to share screen?
I can dig it up and I can do that.
Thank you. Sherry, did
Yeah.
you want to go first, or did you want me to go? All right, I guess it's me. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday before Thanksgiving. Thank you for all you do. I was actually volunteered by fearless leader Kelly to take on this task, and I enjoy digging for resources, as Maureen can attest with what we did with the COVID-19 resource list last year. But okay, waiting for Rob. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I am pasting it into a document so that I can share my screen. Just a second.
Yep.
Let's see. You would think I would be better organized.
Anyway, while he's doing that, I had the opportunity to reach out to some other county agencies and organizations. There we go. There we go. There we go. That's kind of the very, very rough draft of that. But Alan Brown from CCS kind of updated their Thanksgiving resource, and he said that the Family Housing Network plans on cooking turkey and full Thanksgiving meal there. They only have one oven, so it may be difficult to accommodate others cooking their own meals, but interested parties can call in. Okay, regarding the toy box in Sumner, I am waiting to hear back from the Sumner Bonnie Lake Coalition, and also White River Families First Coalition is having their meeting next Monday afternoon. I will be attending that, and then what I'll do is I will just put everything in an email to the listserv once I gather that information. So everything East Pierce County is still questionable. Eloise's Cooking Pot, their sign up closed last week, Friday. They are giving out 1,000 turkey dinners to the community. Then I'll wait for Sherry to talk about the Boleo part, and then Teresa has her 99 stockings, and if she wants to speak on that, she can. Mi Centro, I'm waiting to hear back from Yasmin Aguilar about more resources for that. And then there's this wonderful blogger here in the area called Love Tabitha, who has a slew, next page, Rob, if you have that, who had a slew of Thanksgiving and Christmas resources. Tibbetts at Fern Hill Restaurant, he's holding a free to go Thanksgiving breakfast buffet style for the less fortunate and those experiencing homelessness at the restaurant. Hours for pickup will be 9 a.m. to 10, then 11 to 12, or until all the food is gone. There is an RSVP. Then First Presbyterian Church of Tacoma is distributing food baskets, including turkeys and all the trimmings. tomorrow, and it says, if you need any assistance, there's 2 people to contact. Parkland First Baptist Church is having a Thanksgiving dinner giveaway at the community. Please contact them for more information. And then there's something called Loaves and Fishes Holiday Basket Ministry. And apparently this is through a school district, Clover Park School District. Puyallup Salvation Army Corps is accepting applications for Thanksgiving food boxes for Puyallup, Bonnie Lake, Graham, Milton, Sumner, and surrounding areas. There's a phone number to call. Let's see, Greater Gig Harbor Foundation has their Thanksgiving Basket Brigade. In Gig Harbor, they will be providing $30 gift cards, and there is a sign up link for that. Key Peninsula, Gig Harbor area, food backpacks for kids, say that 5 times. Communities and schools and Nosh Food Truck are partnering to provide local families in the community with the Thanksgiving meal kit. There's a contact information, and the New Horizon Church is going to have a night of fellowship and dinner, and it's open to the community. They are in Fife. And then the one I didn't add there, I just found this morning, is the Marine Corps Toys for Tots Christmas Fun Center has online activities for children. There is a website for that. So I will consolidate all of this either today or Monday morning and get it out to the listserv. Thank you.
Thank you so much for pulling this together, Sheila.
And is
So what
Sherry
we-
on? Is Sherry still on?
Let's see.
Because I didn't get any clarification for what Vallejo was doing.
Yeah, I don't see her on currently, and that is probably because we blew the agenda out of the water, and we're supposed to talk about this at the end of the last hour. So if you could just get that from Sherry to share in your update, I think that'd be great.
I will do that, and I'll get that out either this afternoon or first thing Monday.
Great. Rosemary, you have your hand up?
I'm not sure if Sharilla is on the call, but she had a resource she was going to share, and this might be a good time to mention it since we have a list. So don't know if you're here, Sharilla, but that would be great.
I am here. I'll drop the information in the chat.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic. And that is exactly what we wanted to do with this portion of the meeting, was to share other resources that people are aware of so that we can add to this list. Our goal is just to make sure that folks are aware of all the things that they can access and let people on the street know that they can access next week. So does anybody else have anything that would be helpful that they'd like to add in this portion of the meeting? In the full group, we're going to have a small group discussion for a few minutes on this same topic following this.
I have a question to the group. Does anybody know if House of Matthew will be serving Thanksgiving dinner this year? I can't remember which church it was, but they've done it in the past, and they also had like a clothing bank and things like that. I have not been able to get a hold of Jeanette Twitty.
Kim, I see your hand up.
The church is generally Urban Grace, so I can check. Yep.
Yeah, and
Thank you,
just
Kim.
get back to me directly, Kim. I'll put my email in the chat again. Thank you.
And Xavier, thank you. I see your post in the chat about the Rise Center having a Thanksgiving dinner as well. And Paula for Spanaway United Methodist Church. Anyone else? Lori, I see you need to leave. Thanks. Okay, so in the interest of time, please do continue to use the chat to drop items in. What we're going to do is we're going to go to a quick 10-minute breakout session. And what we had talked about was in addition to everybody just networking together in the small groups, we thought it would be good for folks to discuss what are some of the most difficult needs that you typically have to address during the holiday season with those who you serve. And how do you address those needs? So let's pop into breakout rooms. I will set up the rooms with 5 or 6 folks, and everybody's encouraged to introduce themselves, network, and please, if you have information that would be good to share that comes up in your breakout room, then paste it back here in the chat when you come back. We will be gone for 10 minutes. All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm sure that I hope the conversation was good. I'm sure that that was a very short amount of time. But I did want to get back to the main room so that we could share in the chat anything that additional that you thought would be good to share from your meeting or for your breakout meetings, and to get back to the last items that we have on our agenda for today's meeting. So in the interest of doing the latter and moving along with the agenda, we have a few minutes set aside for Maureen to give us an update on where things are at with the Pierce County Comprehensive Plan to End Homelessness and the steering committee meeting that is coming up this afternoon.
All right, well, thank you. And Garrett's on, so he can chime in if he wants to add something in. But we do have we have had the first draft of the full comprehensive plan to end homelessness. I know that several people have responded to Garrett as he requested and provided comments. I've only seen a couple of people's comments. The steering committee will meet today from 1 to 4. And our consultant, Bree Williams, with the Technical Assistance Collective, I think it is. Anyway, just went out to everybody saying, please organize our thoughts and be prepared to try and limit our discussions on each of the goals that have been presented, that kind of thing. As you can imagine, everybody wants to say everything they've already submitted to Garrett, and maybe twice or 3 times. So it's going to be an art form meeting, orchestrating all of the players who represent very different points of view in many cases, except that everybody wants to end homelessness, which is good. And this wraps up by November 30th. There will be a final plan, and it goes to the Pierce County Human Services Committee meeting on December 7th. So we are on a fast timeline now. If you did not see and Garrett provided it to me, I just haven't gotten it out. I will get out the PDF and the final Shelter for All plan, which was presented to Pierce County Human Services Committee on the 16th, earlier this week. So you see what that final looked like in terms of the plan and presentation. I think for me, representing the coalition, the points remain whether this is an expansion of an existing system and a services plan, or if this is what I have been asking for, which is a radical plan to end homelessness, which means we treat housing seriously and we restructure the existing system of shelters and outreach around Build for Zero. And we aggressively increase the permanent housing options that are available. I think the conversation earlier today with Mike Yoder and Mark Merrill about that particular intervention is an example of how to do it. We either bring down the cost of permanent housing for people, or we get deed restrictions on the housing itself for people who are in that 0 to 30% and 30 to 50%, those 2 categories. We make certain that all of the systems that exist that support people, irrespective of their incomes, are available and accessible to people who are experiencing homelessness and the providers who work with them. And we create some kind, and I don't know what this looks like, of a coordinating function, a leadership function, whether this function also takes on funding, but it has to be sustainable. It has to be something everybody buys into, and it has to somehow be accountable so that we are always moving towards ending homelessness, that functional 0 point. And we all know it's hard. All right. We all know it's an extraordinary ask. And so all I can say is you are welcome to attend the meeting. There is a public link, and there is also there are continuing opportunities. You all know how to get a hold of Garrett and to provide information. You all know how to get a hold of me. So that's where we are. And we will, this has a fixed end for this part of the process. What happens next, I think we don't exactly know. And one option is that the council says, we want you to go back to the drawing boards, and we want you to expand this part, or we are pleased with what you have, and this is how we're going to take it forward. I think we don't know that yet. But the work has been, people have really been serious about it, and that's been good. So Garrett, you want to add anything in there? Or Mike Boyster, if you're still on, or anybody else who's on the steering committee who's on, and I just don't see you.
I guess I could, just emphasizing that, this is a recommendation from a committee to county council, and how that's received and what happens because of that. And if we can get this in front of other municipalities and get them to kind of buy into it, one of the big goals is trying to create a central, can't remember what we're calling it now, unified, now I got to find what that is. Anyway, but basically unified homeless authority that would be accountable to basically what Maureen just described. There's always a weird line between homeless crisis response and permanent housing stability type things that doesn't exist in everybody's mind, but does exist in the bureaucratic structure in governments. So things like that, but really the process and the timeline are producing something, and how that gets implemented is still something that that we're going to have to be pushing on as government employees, as activists, as providers.
And I see Richard Berghammer's on. He's on the steering committee. Richard, do you want to add anything? Courtney's on. Courtney, you want to add anything?
No, I think you guys covered it.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you. Again, Garrett's put his contact information in the chat. Rob's put the link in for the public link for attending. You know how to find all of us, and so please do so. And yeah, thanks a lot. And thank God we didn't have to do it, folks. All right, remember we were going to do this? Fools that we were.
I do remember. And I heard a podcast this week where Garrett said it was his fault. So I'm living with, I'm going to take that.
We reap what we sow.
Yeah, if we don't plant the seeds, nothing's going to happen. So let's move on in our agenda. Let's see. Next, we have any updates from Safe Sites for All. Jan, do you have anything?
Just a reminder that we've got a DEM representative on Monday, but is Paula Anderson? Do you see Paula Anderson? Is she here? She was here. Paula, take it away. Give us an update.
Jan graciously applied to Greater Tacoma Community Foundation because the county is giving us an amount of money to hold that program steady at 4 locations for the rest of the year so that we can continue to pay the costs associated with that for each site, things like sanitation costs, garbage, porta potties, things of that nature. Greater Tacoma Community House may be working with us to provide a bridge loan, which they don't normally do, but we're in the process of negotiating that. They're not really doing that anymore, but we'll see what happens on that. Because the cash flow, of course, with the money that we're getting from the county, that could be a little bit of an issue for us, depending on how that goes, because we will have to expend the amount of money by the end of the year. And so that means putting out big chunks of money very quickly on this project. But I think we're good. I think we've developed a way to do this that is streamlined and to assure that the people or the sites that are still working right now, that are part of the program right now, and the people that are in them are still going to be able to have a safe place to park. And that's the goal of what we're doing right now. So yeah, and the information, the new referral line for guests and for service providers is listed on the website, the county website, or the safe parking.
The homeless, yeah.
Yes, that's what it is. Sorry, thank you. So if you guys have any questions or anything, you can email me or call that number and we'll be happy to answer it for you.
Paula, there is a question in the chat from Andrea about will there be sites for RVs?
Not in this interim time period by the end of the year. I think anybody that takes on safe parking, if that is something that gets funded next year, which we're hoping that happens, any organization that takes that on is going to need to be looking at that, because as we all know, that is a huge issue as far as having those on the streets and parked on private properties and things like that. So definitely we need to work on that. This time period until the end of December is not the time that we'll be able to do that. So
thank you, Paula, and thank you, Jan, for the update. So next on the agenda, we have some time set aside for any coalition committee updates. Is there anything we needed to share, Rosemary?
Just a couple of quick mentions. I have agreed to convene 2 groups. One is called Governance Work Group and the other is the Race and Equity Committee. And just a brief update for governance. We are working right now with working together to confirm our mission as a coalition. Over the last 2 years, we've developed in very many ways and become a real force within the community that we want to be able to sustain. As an all-volunteer organization, we have struggles that have to do with sustainability and also ensuring that we have broad representation. So the governance group is working on this, and we are a smallish group. So if anyone has that kind of interest, either in your past or currently, we will be meeting this coming Tuesday at 9 o'clock. The information will be on the PC Homeless webpage for you to come if you want to just sit in and share your thoughts or join us. That would be great. For the Race and Equity Committee, I just wanted to share one thing. First, we are meeting December 2nd at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's a Thursday. So if that will also be on the PC Homeless page. And just to mention one thing, we have a variety of recommendations we're looking at, but one of the things we'd like to consider at these meetings is that we all think about at the end of the meeting, during that time when we have time for reflection and all, is not only how well have we done at the meeting, but who should be here, who would profit from being here with us, and we would profit from them being with us, that we might invite to participate in various kinds of ways. Groups that we're associated with that have no particular organized relationship to the homelessness question, but who may indeed be providing all kinds of services because they are human beings that recognize that the unconscionable and immoral crisis that we're dealing with. So we'll be making some proposals to the steering committee next week, but I just wanted to put that out there for now as something to encourage us to identify groups that we can then invite to join us and share what they're doing, and perhaps help them to see some things we might be able to do together.
Thank you, Rosemary. I see Verda, you have your hand up. And you're muted right now if you're trying to speak.
No, actually, I was trying to get over to the chat, so I accidentally hit hand up.
No problem. Glad you're here. Anyone else with questions for Rosemary on what she presented? Okay, so let's shift over to any announcements. I know Ed had something he wanted to share with the group.
Yes, good morning. On the 21st of December, we will have a memorial for homeless people that have died in this year. This is part and will be part of the national program. We've decided, since the last one was in kind of a monsoon, that the 21st of December, it would be good if it was indoors. And the pastor at Shiloh Baptist Church has been kind enough to allow us to use their building. So it's a Tuesday at 7 o'clock, and working with Mike Yoder to get this all together. We hope to have all of the names of the homeless that have died for the whole year. We're working on that, and we would encourage all of you to join us during that service. Mike, do you have anything that you want to add?
Not now, but put that date on your calendar. I don't believe, maybe somebody on the coalition here knows, I don't believe that Tacoma's ever actually had an official event that we've contributed to that National Day of Remembrance. So we're planning to register it with the national movement and make this an official Tacoma Pierce County event for the National Day of Homeless Remembrance. There's dozens or hundreds of vigils and services all over the country on that day. And of course, the significance of that day is the first day of winter, which is the time when we need to be remembering those who are unsheltered and those who have, are likely to be super vulnerable as the winter months approach. On that first day of winter, it's a good time to remember the loss from the past year. So it'd be lovely for our community to see a good turnout at that event, just to show our community how many people, how many of us really care that these folks not be unremembered.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Monique, I see your hand up, and then Paula.
Yeah, I just had a question for Ed. The HOT team had given me the name of a gentleman. His name is Glenn, and he was a veteran, and I was looking for Glenn, and then he ended up dying. I don't have his last name on me right now, but I want to be sure that you get that name.
I think it's Glenn Graham, isn't it?
Wheelchair double amputee?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I want to be sure you have him. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I don't have anything to add, but I do have a question for everyone. The encampment needs this insurance that I don't know where to find who can give it to me. It is for abuse and molestation. I have State Farm insurance and they don't do that. And I have no idea where I can go to find someone who does that. So if anybody has any thoughts on that, I will put my email in the chat. If you could just shoot something over, I'd appreciate that. Abuse and molestation insurance.
Great question, Monique. Paula, your hand's up.
Yeah, I just wanted to make mention that And so I guess, Ed, if you could if you haven't already, could you put your email in the chat so I can have that? We just had one of our homeless who was struck by a vehicle about 3 weeks ago. He passed away. What's interesting about this case, and this is something it gives me hope for the city of Puyallup, just to be completely frank, because of all the, the hype and the negativity that seems to come from a lot of the community regarding homelessness. This gentleman who just passed away actually was not allowed at New Hope because of a background item, but he had been homeless in the city of Puyallup, and he started getting well known by business owners in the area, and I guess he would help clean up and do different things. Many of our guests knew who he was, and I know that he was had some developmental delays, and so it's interesting because I'm getting calls from business owners and community members about whether or not there's going to be some sort of celebration of life for this gentleman. And they're coming together and they're starting to put it together. And I think it's fantastic that the community, the business community, is coming around this one individual that they got a chance to know. And the reason they got to know him, I think, was because he was not coming to New Hope and being served at New Hope, where we could have, potentially done some other things. So I don't want people to be upset with New Hope about that, because we do have guidelines that were very much what do I want to say? Sanctioned by the city as far as who we serve, let's put it that way. And so that's where the dichotomy comes in. And I just think it's interesting, and it gives me hope that maybe some attitudes are changing with people that haven't done that. So I thought I'd share that as a Thanksgiving blessing to people.
Thank you, Paula.
Yeah, Paula, we'd be happy to help with their efforts.
Great, thank you so much, Ed. I'll send your name to the pastor that usually works with these.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I recognize that we are now a minute past 11. We managed to fill 2 hours yet again. We have not had an opportunity to reflect on today's meeting. I try to carve out time at the end of every meeting for that. So if you have an interest in sharing around what worked well, what didn't work well, what you hope we can do next week, in addition to who is not here that should be here, that we think would be helpful, both for them for their voice to be here. If you have a couple minutes and want to hang out, we can continue talking. Regardless, we are going to have a group of us doing planning for the next meeting, which will be the first Friday in December. Otherwise, I want to wish everybody who does have to leave a good, safe weekend and a happy holiday. And please stay warm and dry, and have a great time with family if that is your thing for the Thanksgiving.
Thanks, everybody.